Oh, hi. I was just playing the newest release of Skyrim. Anyways, time for the news. Hello YouTube, my name is uidsea, and today we're going back into news. Yes, we have news. Holy news! Although I'm not wearing the Jesus outfit. Yeah, kind of a misnomer, isn't it? Anyway, so, let's just start off. Everyone already knows what released 2 days ago? 3 days ago? Xbox One X. The Xbox. Yes, as many people are referring it to now, the Xbox is the new flagship console that gets released from Microsoft, and from what I remember reading, it had a 40% power boost and a whole bunch of other good, interesting cadres of different things, and it's just great. I only know of one person that actually has one. I do not have one myself, so I can't give you a full review. But from what my single buddy, so singular experience, said that it's incredible and everything is beautiful. The Witcher 3 apparently runs in 1080p 60 FPS, no problem. Whereas in the Xbox One, it only ran at a solid 30 FPS. I've always personally been I've never really been for the console war. I've always been on the side of whatever console has games I'm interested in, which, I mean, PC is always a safe bet because games more or less always come to the PC, and there's many more exclusives because of indie devs and all that good stuff. But I got an Xbone, and I really just don't use it. I kind of feel bad that I don't ever use it, but there's just really no games I care about. The like unspoken rule is, everyone knows, Xbone is if you want shooters, PlayStation is if you want RPGs, PC is if you want, I mean, you know, close to everything. Switch is if you want Mario, Zelda, or Pokemon. Otherwise, don't get it. Not really, actually. The Switch has actually come quite a long ways, but either way. Also, the Miiverse has closed. Yes, unfortunately, the Miiverse has closed. I think it was only a few days ago, and the Miiverse was a really weird, like, social thing. It was not Microsoft. It was Nintendo's social app, so to speak. You could like post little messages, and you could post little drawings and all that stuff. And this is actually the what Nintendo put for the very end of the Miiverse. And actually, if we zoom in, we get to see a whole bunch of different like Miiverse drawings from the end of it all, which is really nice. I never personally used the Miiverse. It was, like I said, for the majority of the past like 2 or 3 years, Nintendo has been kind of with me. Like, I like Super Mario Maker, and I played Breath of the Wild, and I'm playing Super Mario Odyssey now, which, by the way, check my Let's Play. Shameless self-promotion on my own channel. Doesn't make sense. Nintendo has always been that place in my heart where, of course, you know, I'll always come back for Pokemon, and I'll always come back for the Zelda and Mario, which, once again, are Nintendo's 3 main franchises, but I never really tested much more. I played a little bit of Splatoon. I know that the Miiverse was really big with Splatoon, but I never really messed around too much with it. Either way, I guess it's sad to see it go. Just one more thing that I guess Nintendo has cut out. I don't know if they're planning on having something different or not. It's kind of like PlayStation had their, I think it was like PlayStation Home or something. It was this weird like faux MMO thing that you could jump in with your friends, and that got set back that got closed a few years ago. It didn't really work well, and to the best of my knowledge, no one really used it, which is kind of sad, but hey, it is what it is. I guess game consoles just aren't the best thing to what's a good word? They aren't the best thing to kind of compete with actual social platforms, but that's also just my opinion. So, just a quick thing. Assassin's Creed Origins apparently doubled the sales that Syndicate had, which is kind of ridiculous. I remember playing like the first 2 hours of Syndicate, and that was it. Like, I did not play any more of that, honestly. And from what everyone was saying, that Origins really has like changed up the formula and changed up the play and all that stuff, and really brought the Assassin's Creed series back out, which is good for them, because while I do like the Assassin's Creed series, I'm also burnt out of the same formula that's been going on since, like, what, Brotherhood? So that's good. Good that they saw sales. Telltale Games apparently restructures and cuts 90 staff off. Yes, it has let go of 25% of its workforce. That's that's a lot for a dev like that, which realistically, when you think about it, I haven't really heard of many Telltale games in the past year or two. Like, good maybe 3 years ago, I think, was when, like, Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us, all that stuff came out. You know, the big YouTubers picked it up. I personally did a little playthrough of Wolf Among Us. It was a great game. I mean, Telltale games are good for storytelling. Tales of the Borderlands also was really good. I never did that online, but that was actually a really good game. But it's kind of... It's odd, you know. We don't necessarily know if this means that Telltale is, like, you know, putting the kaputs on things, or if they just realize that they may end up, you know, biting off a bit more than they can chew. As one article says, you know, they initially hired around 400 employees, and they had a bunch of different licensed products like Batman, Guardians, Game of Thrones, etc. So maybe they might have just jumped it like a bit too ahead of themselves in terms of, you know, spending the money, especially to getting people in their studio, if they maybe not needed it, or maybe it overseeded their budget. You know, there's a bunch of different things that we could speculate on, but either way, Telltale restructuring, I don't know if that's good. I don't know if that's bad. Time will tell in the next few years if we see any more Telltale games or not. Alright, on to new releases. So, Sonic Forces. Yes, a new Sonic game has come out. The reviews were very mixed. Some people said the game was beautiful, but a lot of people said that the game was actually repetitive and there wasn't a lot of replay value. So, good, bad, I didn't pick it up. I'm not the biggest fan of Sonic, but new Sonic game for fans, so that's good. That's good. Another one, Need for Speed Payback. I didn't hear anything about this. I didn't hear anything about a new Need for Speed game, which is kind of sad because Need for Speed is like very big in the racing industry. I don't know if that's saying something about like maybe the games are kind of getting a bit worn or what. A lot of people were saying there was actually a paywall, and there was a paywall, microtransaction, the loot crates, etc., in it, which I don't know if that's not really good. I mean, let's just be honest. 2017 is the year of microtransactions. Let's just take a look. I mean, Battlefront 2, I saw some people, I saw someone in particular saying that, you know, it's pretty much pay to win because you can get loot crates, and with the loot crates you can get good stuff, and with the good stuff you can beat the people who don't have the good stuff, and, you know, it's very, very... It's kind of like MMOs, right? Free-to-play MMOs. It's kind of the same thing. If Need for Speed Payback has something like that, I'm not going to be picking it up. I'm probably not going to be picking it up anyway, but that is just me. I do enjoy racing games, but Need for Speed over the past few games, I've just not been a really big fan of. But if you're a fan of it, hey, go for gold. And of course, Horizon Zero Dawn, The Frozen Wilds. So it's a DLC for Horizon Zero Dawn, which was the beautiful and highly scoring open world RPG in 2016, I think it was. I think it released last year. And also, as a coincidence, this is also $19.99 currently on Amazon and I think Best Buy. So if you want to get Horizon Zero Dawn and you're on the fence, now is the time. Now is definitely the time. It's $40 off, which is probably a good thing. But I think it's actually in, you know, in releasing with this. So this DLC brings you the frozen northern wastelands, I guess, of the game, and you get to experience new storyline, characters, new experiences, face new machines, and a whole bunch of other fun stuff. I've never played it, although I really want to. Everyone said that it was kind of just like an Assassin's Creed game. I don't know if there's any truth to that or not, but either way, it's something. Go check it out if you like. If you already have Horizon Zero Dawn, from what everyone's saying, this is definitely a must play. And if not, 20 bucks. 20 bucks is 20 bucks, man. You could try a new game or not. I'm very on the fence about it. I almost might. Alright, so now on to news that interests me. Former Overwatch pro, and apparently he was an eSports coach, Dennis Haluka, unfortunately died at the age of 30, and the family has not released details onto why it is yet. I put this on because in gaming, and especially like with the advent rise of esports and all that stuff, YouTubers, Twitch streamers, and all that good stuff, you don't really hear of many people dying. You know, for as big as this is still a market dominated by young people, by the youth. And to hear that someone died, especially at the age of 30, that's very, very odd. nowadays. There's only been, to the best of my knowledge, a handful of YouTubers that I can even remember dying, because like I said, the majority of us are under the age of 30. There are some people who are, you know, pushing later 30s, 40s and whatnot, and there are some people in esports who are a bit older. But I still just find it's really odd to really just hear about anyone in the esports industry dying. So, I mean, my thoughts, you know, thoughts and everything goes out to the family. Hopefully they are dealing with it as best they can. And I don't, like I said, I've never heard of this person myself. I don't watch esports at all, so I can't really tell you one way for certain if this guy was, you know, a great dude, if he was a bad dude, whatnot. Irregardless, unfortunately, he has passed, and I'm sure his fans will all miss him greatly. So apparently, there is a new Nier project. There was the Nier Automata, Lobos Junior viewers, yeah. There is a new Nier that's coming out, and unfortunately, there's not really much about it. Apparently, a scenario writer and planner are on board. That's about it. That's all that we've heard so far. But there was a tweet that said that there is a new Nier project coming out. If you were a fan of the series, I never played the first one. The first one was Nier something or other. You played what looked like some big Norse warrior. The second one, of course, is Nier Automata, and that was the one with 2B and all that. The really, really difficult platforming game that came, or not platforming. It was actually weird. It was a mix of like platforming, bullet hell, open world RPG. It was a really wonky game. I never got into it. Well, I never got it, I should say, but it was critically acclaimed. It was great from almost everyone that I ever heard play it. And it was fun to watch. It was definitely a fun game to watch and stream, but there's a new Nier project coming out. If it's going to be anything like this one, we don't know, especially since Automata had nothing, well, it didn't have like the visual aspects and all that stuff of the first game, to the best of my knowledge. Like I said, the first one I think I played maybe 20 minutes of, so not really too sure on that, but Nier, new, good, maybe. Alright, so this next story is going to come as someone that's kind of a concerned party. So the EA Electronics Arts CEO Andrew Wilson said there may come a time where video game publishers don't release a new annual version of hits. And he was quoted as saying, "We can really think about those games as a 365-day live service." Pretty much what they're saying is that they see, the EA CEO is basically saying that in the future, he's seeing games as not big releases anymore, but a constant subscription streaming service. Which, if you know anything about EA currently has the EA Access or Origin Vault or something like that. It's like for $5 a month or $30 a year annually, you get access to a whole bunch of different games. So we got Titanfall 1 and 2, the first Battlefront, Mirror's Edge Catalyst, Mass Effect Andromeda, The Sims 4, all the Battlefield games, all the Sims games, some other games, Dragon Age, all those series, the Need for Speed ones, Dead Space. Pretty much, I mean, $5 a month, you get realistically almost all the big EA releases. Apparently, the new releases get put in 6 months after release. So if you're kind of on the fence, especially like how Battlefront 2 is, from what at least one person said, is going to be pay to win, has a bunch of loot crates and microtransactions and BS like that. Maybe you don't want to spend $60 on it. Maybe instead you want to sit there and be like, okay, well, you know, 5-6 months when this comes on to early access, $5 a month. I can just try the service and cancel it at any time. So I put $5 down. All right, I download Battlefront 2, play it for a bit. Like, oh, okay, this game's good. Let's just keep the service going. I'll just pay $30 a year, and I'll have access to 60 or 70 current games. And as the releases keep going, of course, there's going to be more. So that calls into the question the whole thing that people are kind of wondering with is subscription-based services or new releases. I'm on the fence because, on the one hand, I'm broke as shit, and like many other people may also be broke as shit. Would you rather pay $60 for insert new game here, or would you rather pay $5 a month for insert new game here? That's cheaper than Netflix, and realistically, a game is going to give you much more entertainment value, assuming you like it, of course, than a 2.5-hour movie. So, on the one hand, I don't like putting everything into subscriptions because you know, at the end of the day, if we have, you know, a subscription service from EA, and then we have one from Sony, and then we have one from Microsoft, and then we have one from indie game publisher X and indie game publisher Y, and this and that, then, you know, of course it'll all equal up eventually to, you know, maybe 60, 70, maybe $100 a month. So here's a question: would you pay $100 a month for every game you own now and every game you will be owning in the future, or would you rather pay $60 per AAA title? That's kind of, I think that's kind of what they're thinking. Like, games will eventually become just a streaming service, which not necessarily streaming. Like, you don't have to be streaming the game constantly to play it. You won't need to pay. You know, you won't need to have the game streaming constantly to play it, especially if it's a single-player game. Although, if I remember correctly, kind of like a few years ago when the new SimCity released, there was, you know, you needed the constant always-on internet connection. So I don't know if Origin Vault or Origin Access or EA Access or whatever the hell it is has that. I'm going to assume so. Like I said, I remember starting it once, and then I realized that I don't like most of the games on there. Like, all the Dead Space games I've already played, all the Need for Speeds that I've wanted to have already played. I've already played all the Dragon Age games. I've already played all the Mass Effect games. I'm not that big on shooters. So, you know, Battlefield and all that. Mirror's Edge. I mean, Mirror's Edge is fun, but how many times are you going to play through Mirror's Edge? I think I've played through the first game maybe 3 times. I haven't even finished the second game because... meh. But it's just a question of, do you want to pay subscription services instead of paying big bucks per game? I'm on the fence about it. I think I'm actually going to try EA Origins or EA Access out, and I'll see how I like it. Like, if I play the games a bunch, then whatever. $5 a month instead of paying $60. Hell yeah, of course. But that also highly depends on the games that are released, you know? So we'll see how that goes. In the next few years, I'm sure we're going to see that either come to fruition or fail completely. Who knows? Just stay tuned for it like I will. Okay, so in the news for this new game that's coming out, Vampire, Vampyr, from Dontnod, the narrative director, Stéphane Beauviguier. Oh god, I'm terrible with French names, I don't know. He pretty much said that, you know, vampires are cool. There are too many zombie games about this. There are too many games out now about zombies, and he continues on with that, but I completely agree. He could just end that statement there, and I completely agree. I'm so goddamn tired of zombies. I think what's most interesting for me from a narrative point of view is that vampires are one of the very few creatures who are aware of what they are, what we are, what they are, and have their own duality, whereas zombies, ghouls, and werewolves are just stupid creatures most of the time. The vampire is a trickster. I mean, yes, he lives among the humans trying to manipulate him, so it's interesting to create someone who is torn by some kind of personal conflict. So pretty much he's saying that, you know, with zombies, you have the horde. You have the unintelligent horde, and it is just this creature that moves on basal instincts. With zombies, however, you know, they have this weird duality of, I want to be human still, and then I also want to be the creature of the night. And I understand what he's saying there, because realistically, Twilight has kind of sullied a lot of people's views of vampires. Of course, you know, the sparkling whatnot. Look, personally, I like the Twilight books, okay? Y'all can just go on off with that, but vampires are badass. I mean, let's just be honest here. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines was one of my favorite games of all time. It was really ahead of its time. It was also really glitched to hell, and it was a great game where you actually got to be a vampire, and you actually got to choose, you know, do you want to keep your humanity, or do you want to just become the blood creature that you have been transformed into? And from what it's seeming like with what this director is saying, they're saying they want to kind of go the same way. Like, yes, you'll have different darkness powers and this and that. You'll be able to, if you want, you can just kill everyone. You can just, you know, you can just eat everyone you see. And then he says, but you can also, you know, you can also be the quote-unquote human still. And you can maybe follow these people to see, are they really good? Are they really bad? You're not some telepath. You don't have mind control. So realistically, they're kind of, I think they're moving on the whole thing of like, do you want to be a killer just because you've been turned into a beast, quote unquote? which I guess the same thing kind of compares with werewolves, but werewolves also, at least in a lot of different depictions, when they transform, they're kind of mindless. But then again, also with vampires, a lot of them transform, they're also mindless. It's kind of like, what was that movie a few years ago? Daybreakers, I think. When they don't have blood for a while, they become like the more like ghoulish looking things, which, I mean, it's six one half dozen the other. I'm very excited for this game to come out. I really wouldn't mind. I'd like to see the whole, you know, duality thing, the darkness versus light thing that's going to be plaguing your personality. I'm really interested. Hopefully this game actually delivers, because this is going to be the first real vampire game that's come out in a few years, and if this does well, then we should, I really just really hope it does well, because then we might be able to see more vampires later on. What would be really cool, although kind of dumb, so like in Infamous, they had Infamous First Blood, and you were, you know, you were the vampire with the vampiric powers and all that stuff. I'd honestly like to see an Assassin's Creed-esque game with vampires. I think that'd be really cool. It'd be wonky, but it'd be really cool. Or maybe like an alternative history like Batman Arkham game. That would be sweet. One of the weird storylines, I think like Elseworlds or something like that, where, you know, Dracula infects Batman and you become the actual Bat of the Night. See, vampires can be good tie-ins, but they can also be good games, and then they can be horrible games. So we'll see where Vampire goes in this. Anyways, the PUBG developers are making a steampunk high fantasy MMO called Ascent: Infinite Realms, and that's the first little promo picture of it. Apparently there's going to be a big emphasis on being able to own your own airship, and you get to do a lot of customizations with airships and whatnot. There's going to be big PvP raids in the air with the airships and all. Which, steampunk, it's a fun aesthetic, you know, it's definitely cool. There's mechs apparently too, so that's really nifty. I'm not really an MMO person. I think, and I actually saw a discussion about this a little while ago, with like MMOs, I think we're just getting out of the like plaguing the MMO phase, which, I mean, the gameplay on this game doesn't look bad, yes, but the problem, I think, is that there are so many free-to-play MMOs nowadays that maybe people are burnt out of MMOs. I mean, it is a thing. So the big thing with MMOs is a few years, I mean, realistically, we're riding off of almost like a decade-long wave of different MMOs, ever since WoW got horrifically popular, essentially. So the problem with MMOs, which, by the way, MMORPG, massively multiplayer online role-playing game. Yes. So things like World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy XIV, Guild Wars 2, things like that. I like MMOs. MMOs take a large time sink. They are a very big time sink. Realistically, a person only in the day has time for one, maybe two at best. You know, I play Guild Wars off and on, and that still took maybe 2 to 3 hours a day just to get all my daily stuff done and, you know, mess around, play with friends and whatnot. But the problem with MMOs, I think, is that there are too many MMOs and not enough players to play them, if that makes sense. Like, you hear of a few different games going under every now and then. Luckily, the big ones, I mean, WoW, of course. WoW's never going to go anywhere. I'm almost certain of that. WoW is just never going to go anywhere. Final Fantasy XIV, like I said, Guild Wars 2 got a really big resurgence. It's a really fun game. I personally like Final Fantasy XIV. I like the world, the settings, and all that, but I didn't like the gameplay because it was a clone of WoW, essentially. Like, you have an action bar, click 1, 2, 3, wait, okay, 6, 8, okay, now reset your cycle, redo that all over again, move around, oh, dogs that attack, okay, well, do 1, 2, 3, yep, 6, 7, okay, 8, oh, nope, now use 4, okay, now reset your cycle. Like, the combat isn't interactive really at all. The combat is very, very boring and bland, unfortunately. That's how I feel with almost all MMOs. There are some that aren't like that. There are the quote-unquote active combat systems like Terra, which Terra was really fun, although I was just horrific at I wasn't really bad at the combat. It's just that I did everything solo, and that's definitely not a way to play in MMOs, which if you want to play solo, it's called a massively multiplayer online game. So MMOs aren't, unfortunately, the single-player game, which realistically I want to. I hate PvP, so that counts a lot of MMOs out for me and many other people. I really don't like grouping I don't really want to have to deal with people. I really just want to play. I really just want a time sink of a game for myself in one of those, what's it called? In one of those universes. Problem is that's not what MMOs are. That's the big problem. So it's a time sink. Is this a good idea? Because I mean, if this is the if this is the PUBG studio, then you got to think about it. PUBG alone takes people a lot of time. Like, I know people who play PUBG 8-10 hours a day. And if they all of a sudden have an MMO, well, already you know that a lot of your gamers are not going to be doing it because your gamers are playing the game that you already have released. Maybe it'll catch on. Maybe it'll be great. Maybe it'll be something completely new. We have over a decade of, well, realistically, like with EverQuest and everything, we have close to 2 decades of, oh, also RuneScape. Yeah, I mean, fuck. I mean, I've played RuneScape more than I've played WoW. Okay, which the new RuneScape Next, I think it is, actually pretty good. You have 2 decades of MMO experience to mess with. Is there a fucking dog barking outside my window? You son of a... Anyway, will the dev be able to look at all those things and say, okay, don't pull an ArcAge. ArcAge was going to be great. In the beta, it was great. When it was released, it was just pay to win. It was shit, unfortunately. I really wanted that game to be good, but it's not. Will they just make a pay to win mess that'll last for a year and then that's it? Will this game go on to be the next great MMO? Who in God's name knows? But we'll see whenever it decides to be released. Unfortunately, there isn't too much about it. So it says Ascent Infinite Realm takes place in a high fantasy steampunk world where machines and magic rule everything, and everyone is dependent on flight to explore, travel, and conquer. Cool. Realm v Realm combat, vehicles and mounts serve as more than just purpose of transportation. They also provide adventurers with the ultimate battle experience. So there's Realm v Realm PvP. Alrighty, I do not want this game, because that's realistically going to be the focus of most of the game. Unfortunately, when multiplayer is introduced, 9 times out of 10, single player is kind of put on the back burner, which also is the main reason why I don't like multiplayer in single player games. Personally, think about it. With The Witcher 3, if there was a multiplayer system, do you think that they'd be able to put as much time into the single player game as they could? Who knows? Maybe they could, maybe they couldn't. But either way, there's going to be most of Ascent Infinite Realms content is highly customizable, allowing players to tailor detailed aspect of their play experience and unleash their creativity. An airship can have different types, appearance, colors, and performance modified. Players can even create their own quests, alter their hunting grounds, and change the difficulty when battling monsters in dungeons or hunting areas. Which, I guess that it's kind of like, epic raids and things like that they already have. The key features: explore a beautifully detailed high fantasy steampunk world. Discover a fusion of classic MMO elements with multi-dimensional gameplay. And also, the publisher is actually also one of the Terra studios. So they're probably going to have a bit of action, hotbar, and active combat thing, which is pretty interesting. Like I said, I'll try it. MMO, it's going to be free to play. If an MMO doesn't launch as free to play nowadays, there's not a very high chance of success. At least that's what I've seen personally, but it is what it is. Choose from 5 fully customizable classes and then conquer the sky in Realm v Realm. Once again, not really too sure. It'll be playable on G-Star from November 16th to 19th. Oh, it'll be playable at G-Star 2017. So if I remember correctly, that is a Korean game expo, I think. And then a beta will be held the first half of 2018. I'm not holding my breath for this game. Not really at all. Alright, and of course the last big thing that's really cool is Niantic Labs, the devs of Pokemon Go, and they actually had a game beforehand called Synaptic? I can't remember exactly, but they had a game that was essentially Pokemon Go before Pokemon Go, but it was a bit more complex and not as many people played it. But either way, they are releasing a Harry Potter AR game in 2018. So if you're thinking Pokemon Go-esque Harry Potter, that would be interesting. Apparently it's going to be called Harry Potter Wizards Unite. Who knows what it's going to be? They already... It's on like Facebook and Instagram. I see ads every now and then. They have kind of like a weird magic-y thing where you can kind of like block spells and like shoot spells at your friends and all that stuff, which it's kind of cool, but I don't know. We'll see if this works, if it falls flat on its face. I don't know. Nowadays with apps, I'm a little pessimistic, honestly. But we'll see if it's good. I'm really hoping so, because if so, that'd be fun to go run around and throw, you know, Expelliarmuses at people, because, of course, Expelliarmus is the greatest spell in the universe. Look at Harry Potter. I mean, yeah, Avada Kedavra, yeah, it could kill people instantly, but nope, I'm blocking you with a stunning spell, which, I guess, best case scenario, if it beats your opponent's spell, it also stuns them, so that's good. I was always a Flipendo person myself. Just saying. Alright, so I'm going to actually close this out with a quick little comic review, because this is the first comic I've finally been able to read since I started this. Batman White Knight. It's really, really good. I don't want to put any spoilers in it, but essentially it's an alternate universe where, unfortunately, Batman starts losing it a little bit, and Batman actually beats the sense into Joker, and then shoves a bunch of pills down his mouth. And he's essentially cured of his psychosis, and being as Joker is already hyper intelligent, he starts going on a crusade to try and make Gotham City better. Essentially, the roles are essentially reversed. Batman's the bad guy, Joker's the good guy. No, I don't want to really do any spoilers, but I seriously suggest checking this out. This is so good. As someone I'm not that big of a fan of Batman, because, you know, he's been around since, what, the 40s? I'm very, very impressed with this and very pleasantly surprised. Go check it out. So anyways, that's all for this news today, or this week, whatever. I'm going to be getting this out as soon as possible. Go check out all the games that I've linked, or not that I've linked, that I've talked about. If you're interested, let me know if you have any news that you'd like to see, and we can always check it out for next week. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.